Good morning, All Saints Church. This is Sacred Resistance 2.0, an update. I'm Susan Russell, one of the priests on staff here. My pronouns are she, her, and it's a delight to be with you this morning. This was I will just, a little disclaimer, this was sort of a last-minute entry into our Faith and Formation series. We had planned to do something else today that didn't happen. So opted to use this time as an opportunity to do an update on our Sacred Resistance program and initiative. So that's what we're here for today. That's what this is about, and we're glad that you're here. Also glad to be able to be archiving this on our YouTube channel. Hoping it'll be available also as a resource with the history as we move forward if we need to look back at some point and refresh our memories. So with that, we're going to get started. I'll tell you what our time together, we have 40 minutes. I'm going to spend about the first 15 going through this quick PowerPoint, which does have some of the history of Sacred Resistance. If you've heard it before, just nod knowingly, like, oh yes, I knew that. And if it's news to you, then that's what we're here for. And then we'll do some Q&A and offer some opportunity for conversation. So grateful that you're here on this very drippy May morning. We are now officially in May, and this is May gray at its best here in Pasadena. So with that, let's just start with a word of prayer. God dwells in you. Holy God, we do give you thanks for this day, for the power of your love, and the call to be to resist all that gets in the way of your dream for a world that is not just a human race, but a human family. Bless our conversation, our learning, and our exploration this morning, and then send us out into the rest of this good day and into the work ahead, empowered to be beacons of your love, justice, and compassion. All in the name of our brother Jesus. Amen. Amen. All right, so let's start. A little history. Sacred Resistance Task Force in the Diocese of Los Angeles, the Episcopal Diocese of Los Angeles. Anyone who's like completely new, the Episcopal Church is arranged in dioceses. There are 110 in the Episcopal Church, and the Diocese of Los Angeles goes from Santa Maria to Needles to San Juan Capistrano. So it covers not only a large geographic area, but a very large area of theology, of politics, of almost everything. So we meet once a year as a diocesan convention, and at that convention in 2016, we adopted a resolution declaring ourselves a sanctuary diocese. It urged congregations to discern how they were called to welcome and serve, as it says, at places of welcome, refuge, healing, and offer materials and support to those targeted for hate, for any perceived status of difference. I think that will be important as we move forward around the intersectionality of this work. And call the diocese to work alongside friends, family, and neighbors to ensure dignity. So what is Sacred Resistance? One of the core promises of our baptismal covenant is that we persevere in resisting evil. And we understand that as a call to stand in resistance to any of the systemic evils that oppress and marginalize any member of our human family, including but not limited to, and these were the things called out in the Sacred Resistance Resolution: racism, sexism, nativism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, and Islamophobia. So grounded in our baptismal promises, this is our resistance to public policies that perpetuate those evils is one of the ways we put our faith into action in the world. It's one of the ways we live out our faith in the world, not in order to be politically correct, but to be gospel obedient. It isn't about partisan politics, it's about values-based action. So that's core to what we do. And I will say, over the years, we have stood up, we were not always happy with what the Biden administration did. We were not always happy with the Obama administration did. And in this moment, we're not happy with a lot of things that are happening. The resolution also committed us to assist equipping congregations, clergy, and lay leaders to engage in such work. And so toward that end, we created a task force. It was co-chaired by Jamie Edwards-Acton and Francisco Garcia. Some of you may remember Francisco. He was sponsored for ordination from this congregation. And their job was to coordinate the implementation of this resolution. The work was launched in 2017 with gatherings like this one at our clergy conference, and that included actions and meetings throughout the year as we implemented policies at that time, particularly targeting refugees and immigrants, which is what was happening at that point. In December 2018, our Bishop Taylor led leaders to visit folks being detained near Tijuana, and that faith caravan included nurses, human rights activists, and clergy to provide aid and witness to inhumane living conditions. I want to include that because this is about a broad range of ways we resist, which I was saying a little bit before we started, that resistance isn't just about getting your face in the news with a sign. It isn't just about writing letters to your political leaders to change their hearts and minds. It's also about what do people on the ground need and what aid and comfort can we give to those who are being targeted. And that's going to vary across differences, across times, and across the context. But this is what was happening in 2018. That year we also adopted a second resolution, basically affirming the one we'd adopted in 2016, and also called to develop and promulgate options for involvement, and commended the diocese to engage in whatever way their prayerful decision led them to. Again, the prayer circles matter, the prayer shawls matter, the soup kitchens matter, the people on the streets matter, the people getting arrested matter, the people lobbying in Sacramento matter. It's all part of the work. And I think one of the things we were trying to do is knit together our work so we're each doing the thing we're called to do without either judging or marginalizing those who are doing it differently. And I think that's the intersectionality of pulling that together has been the strength of this movement over these years, that we're building a coalition that is deep and wide, not just a mile wide and an inch thick. We do have online resources, pretty easy to remember, lasacredresistance.org if you want more information. And also on social media, we have Facebook and Instagram. We're still doing the meta thing, thinking about what we could do different, but it's still where we are. So that's a place to join in if you want more information online. So fast forward a little, that's mostly the history. In 2024, as we know, the general election raised the specter of an incoming administration, where mass deportations was not going to be a bug but a feature. It was one of the 4 stated plans, and as Maya Angelou famously told us, when people tell you who they are, believe them. And so operating on that premise, decided to reboot the work, which had continued again during the years from 2020 to 2024, but quite honestly at a less fevered pitch because the demand was less, given the decisions that were being made and implemented. And there's Francisco and our own Loren Young there at one of our reboot. Today, our Sacred Resistance leadership team has expanded. It still includes Francisco and Jamie, our founding co-chairs, but has expanded to include Greg Kumara there. He's the rector at St. James South Pasadena, Sandra Martinez from Pomona, Antonio Gallardo, another All Saints alum, who's the rector in Long Beach, and Ann Petrucci, who's a lay leader in Oxnard at Todos de los Santos at All Saints in Oxnard. And then I serve as the diocesan staff liaison to the task force. So here today I have 2 hats on, really. I'm here as a priest of this parish, but I'm also here as part of the bishop's staff, talking about this work for the wider diocese and the work that I do and we do together. And it's a privilege to have that in my portfolio. So our initial organizational meeting in 24 drew participants from around the diocese. We prepared for 30, we got 80. So that warms the cockles of an organizer's heart. And then I'm going to sort of conclude the didactic piece of this presentation with just a look at a few of the events and things that we've done since that initial organizing meeting. We had a great turnout for the hands-off protests, which again were one of those opportunities to draw the net wide, hands off everything from Social Security to immigrants to transgender kids to marriage equality to all of the things that we see in the vortex, and neurodivergent kids. I mean, we've all heard that poem, first they came for, whoever thought the first thing is first they'd come for the kids with autism. I mean, and I'll just self-disclose, I'm the grandmother of a 6-year-old who's neurodivergent. And being aware of the impact that's having on his little family in Alabama, where if there are no federal support, there is no support. And so it's a complicated world, and we're at this point, we're all in it together, and the work is to figure out how do we resist together. So hands-off protests, and I love this picture. There's our own Vince in the foreground in his Sacred Resistance shirt. Way to represent. And some of you may recognize in the purple there Lynn Jay, who was a long time, she was rector of St. Stephen's, Santa Clarita, and when she retired there was here for almost a decade as one of our adjunct clergy. Her health is now frail enough that she can't really commute here every week to do that, so they moved into assisted living situation, and she's back at St. Stephen's, but her health was not so frail she didn't get out her walker and go to the hands-off protests. So that's our Lynn there in the forefront. Another recent event was just last week, our civil disobedience and nonviolence training, which we offered the Learning Center as the site for. And this was a joint offering between our Sacred Resistance Task Force, CLU, our Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, Nefesh, one of our Jewish organizations that we work with, as well as our Muslim siblings. And so it was an interfaith offering. Again, we were going to cap it at, what do we say, Lorraine? Cap it at 70.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 120. So I say that, I hope, as a sign of hope and encouragement that we're building it and people are coming. We're building it and people are saying, okay, we want to be part of this wider movement that is faith-based, that is grounded in community and intersectionality, and that is committed to getting out and actually making the difference, again, being the change we want to see in the world. And some of that was the May Day marches and demonstrations. Now, some of you old-timers will know May 1st is always the day that if you're going to get out in the streets, that's probably the day. Historically, a day where we march for workers' rights and economic justice. And there we are, Jamie and Francisco in the forefront as per usual. This time it's Jamie with the Sacred Resistance shirt on. But I want to draw your attention to the picture up in the corner. Immediately behind the immigrant signs and the economic justice signs are the transgender signs. We would not have seen that even 5 or 6 years ago. The siloization of our different movements were still pretty firmly in place. And so the fact that we're seeing those outward and visible signs that we are a people, I'm old, so Holly Near is still in my head. We are a gentle, angry people, and we're going to stay gentle, but we're angrier than ever, and we're more aligned than ever, and we're together. And we're not just singing for our lives, we're marching for our lives. I'm not going to sing, it's too early, although I could. And then finally, just a day before yesterday, is today the 4th? Yes, may the 4th be with you. Someone had to say it. May 2nd, we had a board mission trip to the border. And this is a wonderful collaborative process with our siblings in the Diocese of San Diego, who have just opened on the other side of the border something called Comunidad de Luz. It's a migrant shelter for women and children in Tijuana who are trying to migrate and are on the other side of the border. And it's going across back and forth, providing resources. They have beds, they have food, they have tutoring, they have programs for the children. and that there's encouragement to send mission trips down there for folks to not just see and experience what's going on there, but also to look for financial support and people to go down and be present with the folks who are being detained there on the other side of the border. And that's a picture of our Bishop John there, the bald white guy, who is the king of selfies with some of, as he put, his new best friends there in Tijuana, and then a photo of the worship service they did. So will be, I think, and Greg Kumura, our buddy from St. James South Pass, was the organizer for that. Finally, in terms of the events, we have another event coming up on May 17th, and it is, again, in terms of the joint intersectionality, a joint celebration with the LGBTQ Commission. We're calling it a celebration of resilience and resistance. Historically, or at least for the last 15, 20 years, every spring the bishop has hosted a garden party at their Episcopal residence launching Pride season. And it's always been a fun, festive event. It's a fundraiser and a friend-raiser, and we get our shirts for Pride, and a good time is had by all. This year, in consultation with the bishop and his amazing wife, Canon Kathy O'Connor, we decided to switch it up a little bit. Instead of doing a garden party on Sunday, we're doing a brunch on Saturday morning. And we decided to make it a joint event with our LGBTQ Commission and the Sacred Resistance Task Force of the Diocese. Coincidentally, I'm the bishop's liaison to both of those teams, and so I'm sort of the bridge person. But the more we've worked on the planning, the more excited I am about this event. I mean, it really is an opportunity to come together and demonstrate intersectionality between our struggles, how we support each other, and how we organize to get the word out that the Episcopal Church is a place that respects the dignity of every human being, and that we're not just going to put our mouths and our money, but our bodies and our energy toward that work. So a sort of shameless pitch. If you're interested in coming, there's information in the bulletin about how to register and show up. It's right here in Pasadena, so it's easy to be part of. But and this year, in terms of the marching piece, just as we had included in the May 1st march representation from our transgender folks, this year our pride shirts for LA Pride are going to be the Sacred Resistance logo over a rainbow, the progress flag, and the back of the shirt will have the Episcopal shield and the words, the Episcopal Church respecting the dignity of every human being. So they're multivalent shirts that can work in either context, and they make the statement that we together we're stronger. Together we can be the change we want to see and break down all that gets in the way of the beloved community we're striving to be. So that is another thing coming up. There will be many other opportunities, and I encourage you, if you go to the website, lasacredresistance.org, or either of our Facebook pages, you can sign up to be on the mailing list. And that will not only connect you to events and programs, but also alerts. And if all of a sudden there are people, I'll just say messing with our siblings at the Home Depot, like they did in Pomona, it's an opportunity to get people out there and stand in support and solidarity. So if that's a network you'd like to be part of, check that out and sign up for the email. How many are on the mailing list? I know a few of you. Yeah, great. So other works in progress, our plans include working groups to handle nonviolent protest actions, legal advice on individual cases. We're still building that team. Liaising with allied nonprofits and NGOs, and Francisco Garcia is a master at that kind of organization. Fundraising for direct support and legal aid. I will admit, as we did our projection on how this was going to roll out, Altadena burning down was not on our bucket list. And so the reality is a lot of our financial and institutional and personal resources have gone to supporting those who've lost everything or a lot, or are traumatized, or all of the above. And I know, just looking around, some of you are in the room today, so our prayers and love continue out to you as you continue this journey of reimagining what life looks like on the other side of January 7th. And this work continues as well. It's all part of the wider work. And then a communication and social media strategy to advocate for reform, and establishing contacts in all 10 of our deaneries. I said our diocese was we're 138 congregations now in the diocese, which is a lot of congregations in a big space. So broken into deaneries, trying to organize in each deanery, and Francisco and I, you might imagine, are the core team of this deanery, which is Deanery 5. A lot of inside baseball stuff there, and then a prayer that we'll close with when we're done. But, okay, good, I'm at 9:21. I said 15, 20 minutes, so that was just about right. So now I'd love to open it up for questions. And we get lots of, I'm just going to say, feedback from our friends online. I know where you are. If we don't pass the mic around for questions, because they can't hear you. And so I'm going to pull that up right now. I'm not turning it on. Okay, tech fail. Tech moment. Maybe you should go with the little quickie thing. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Yes, okay. So I'm going to hand the mic to the first questioner and then ask as we move around if you'll take responsibility for handing it off to each other. That would be great. And I saw a hand. Did I see a hand? Yes, Lorraine.
This is not really a question, but I just wanted to plug, we do have a meeting on Tuesday night, and it's on Zoom. So if you go to the website, you can find that. And most of our meetings recently have been on Zoom, so you don't have to drive a long ways, and you can still be part of it.
Great. So since you have the mic and we have time and you're brilliant, would you give our folks who don't know when we say we're having a meeting, what that meeting is and why they would want to give up an hour and come to it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, a Sacred Resistance meeting. And it's been mostly local in this area, but, because it's expansive. So we talk about what each church is doing and what our plans are, and it's really just a supportive kind of thing that, that you're not alone in this fight, that there are other people out there that are working, and so it's good to have that chance to get together and share ideas and just support each other.
So it's basically our general meeting that we have with anyone who wants to be involved at any level, anywhere. So, and again, as Lorraine just said, it's a Zoom meeting, so you can sort of dip your foot in from the couch if you need to, without having to travel or wander off. Great, thank you for that. Questions? Yeah, Terry has a question behind you, Lorraine.
Good morning, I'm Terry Moore. I'm a member of 3 groups where I help to facilitate education for ministry, challenging faith, and now sacred ground. And every one of those groups, people talk about what more can they do. We give money, we write letters. It doesn't seem like people know how things are coordinated. And it would be great to, somehow be able to, this meeting sounds like a great way to do that, or to recommend to people that besides driving around in my car and raising my fist, what can I do? So
that's a great, both thank you for your service for one thing. You're like the trifecta of a small group coordinator leaders, so thank you for your work. But I mean, that's exactly what we hope will come out of conversations like this. And I'm imagining some sort of a one sheet, perhaps both online and in person. It's like, so you want to dig deeper, where to start, and you could have different levels of what could I do. So Lorraine, let's think about taking that back to I call them the dudes because I can get away with it, to the dudes to put on the agenda of coming up with that kind of a resource for folks who aren't sure, who want to get involved but aren't sure where to start. It's a great idea, Terry. Thank you so much. Others, Vince, well, we'll start here and then we'll go to Vince.
Hi, I'm John Falber. My question is, I'm interested in what successes have been accomplished. I look at the situation and, as I get older, I get the phrase, things will get a little bit worse before they get a lot worse. And that's what I see happening. I see terror in El Salvador and Harvard University, reaction, fear, really threats, very serious threats. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering about sort of here in Pasadena, we must have several thousand, undoubtedly there are thousands of undocumented persons in Pasadena, and I'm wondering what is being done. And I think that I thought about what might happen to me. My gardener might come and say, "Can I hide in your basement?" And I'm going to say, "Yeah, okay, right." But without a right warrant, they can't come in. And then I want to say, well, the police probably know when the migrant services are coming. Is there some way you can spread that word? That's journalism.
Right.
And so when I ask about accomplishment, I mean people who didn't get sent to El Salvador, people who are free. And so I'm wondering how we are relating to those people who need us.
Yeah, that's a complicated question, but thanks for asking. I think at this point, everything you said, I'm old too. I've been at this for a really long time. I like to tell people when I started doing this, I was thin and brunette. And we're only, remember, 100 days into this new administration. And there were those who listened to the rhetoric and said, "Oh well," and as I said at the beginning, Maya Angelou famously said, "When they tell you who they are, believe them." And if you didn't ever believe that, believe it now, because we were told what the current administration had in mind, and we're now seeing it trying to act out. I think some of you will remember George Regas of blessed memory, our rector emeritus. And he famously said that our job is to set audacious goals and celebrate incremental victories. And I think as we continue this journey, right now, our initial goal is playing defense, just trying to stave off the ongoing assault of, it's like whack-a-mole on steroids to keep you distracted, to keep us obsessed. The latest, and I really will get back to an answer, but I'm going to tell a quick story. The latest, how many of you have seen the AI image generating with our Kurt West White House depicted as the Pope? Yes. Why would that be out there? Well, there are a lot of possibilities. One of my theories is it's to distract us and get us talking about that instead of something else. Like maybe about the fact that the National Security Advisor was evidently trying to work a deal behind the scenes with Netanyahu. Normally that would be leading the news, right? And what's leading the news? Trump wants to be Pope. Well, that distracts us. And so trying to hone in and stay focused is a massive challenge. The chaos that's being created is not a bug, it's a feature. It's meant to keep us off. You've read anything about how oligarchies rise, how people take power. And the overwhelming commitment of those who have bought into this out of greed, out of lust for power, is just staggering, demoralizing. There are days when I'm not convinced I want to get off the couch, much less know what to do when I do get off the couch. So this is not a commercial for my Substack, but I did write a piece yesterday. Because it was just in the back of my head, but the Pope thing was just a twist. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Grimm Brothers fairy tales. And I grew up, my mom read them to us, as I wrote in my Substack. We'd sit up, Mama read to us, she would pull out that big volume and read these stories. And these were not the Disneyfied versions. These were the ones that didn't always end well for people and were, And the one I remembered was The Fisherman's Wife. remember that one. And it was about a story of a fisherman and his wife who were living in a hovel and barely making ends meet. And the fisherman catches a magic fish who says, I'm a magic fish. If you let me go, I'll grant your wish. So he lets him go, and he goes back, and the wife said, why didn't you ask him to get us a cottage instead of a hovel? So he goes back, finds the fish, asks for the cottage. Presto, there's a cottage, not a hovel. And the fisherman's like, whoa, we've won the lottery. Anyway, spare the story. Everything the wife gets is not enough. She doesn't just want a hovel. Next, she wants a castle. Then she wants to be the king. Then she wants to be the emperor. Then she wants to be the pope. And at every step along the way, the magic fish grants her wish. Finally, the final ask she asks is she wants to be like God. She wants to control the tide and the sun. At which point, the magic fish cuts her off, and the fisherman returns, and she's back in the hovel. Okay? That's the moral of the story. That greed, insatiable greed, is the road to ending back to where you came from. Now, here's where my brain went. There are no allegories or no analogies are completely congruent, but this one. In some ways, in our current story, the magic fish is the electorate. They have granted the wish of this individual to control our public policy. And they can take it away. And if he reaches too far, if they reach too far, if the powers of principalities of evil and avarice and greed and racism and xenophobia and transphobia and sexism and misogyny, and I have a longer list, but I'm going to stop now, if those all combine to try to recreate this country into their own image of narrow, binary, cisgender, male, heteronormative patriarchy, a kind of Gilead, then we can resist. We are the magic fish. We can say no. We can return them not to a hovel, but back to Mar-a-Lago. And the other piece is the Grimm fairy tales were written hundreds of years ago in a very different context. Could not have imagined who we are and what we're doing. And yet the human story is the same. So as much as, I don't want to have to deal with this in my dotage. I turned 70 this year, so that's kind of a benchmark. I also I take a little bit of comfort in this is not just a generational struggle, but a human struggle. I think as long as we live in this realm, we're going to struggle against those powers. And those are the powers and principalities I think Scripture's talking about. Not slathering demons with teeth and drools and whatever you can make an AI at the latest movie. But those systems that want to disempower and disable human beings from living fully to their lives and potential. Destruct the beloved community that Jesus came to model and that all of our great world religions call us to, where we love our neighbors as ourselves. So I'm not preaching today, so that was my sermon. It isn't really an answer, but for me it's an encouragement. I can't do everything, but as we build this, to go back to George's celebrating incremental victories, we have to be willing to say, we showed up in Pomona and the ICE agents left because there were too many people there taking too many videos and they left. So who knows? I don't have metrics for you, but I know that our showing up matters. And when we show up for each other, it matters. And when we show up for each other, it shows those who would divide us that we're not going to be polarized.
But could you just clarify? I don't know what happened in Pomona and how you found out about it to go out there.
Yeah, that was, again, Lorraine, do you remember how that word went out?
It was probably email. I don't remember exactly.
Can you give her the mic, please?
No, how you found out that the ICE agents were there?
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
I got a text, and so that's another way to be able to opt in. It was like hey fam, all hands on deck. We've heard that there's an action at the Home Depot at whatever street in Pomona, and we need people to show up. And people did. And maybe we need to do a better job of both looping people into those networks, which is an ongoing challenge of building it.
The other thing is knowing that they are there.
Yes.
Broadening that network so
Yeah.
that the information can go out.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all what we're trying to build as a network of resistance, and not just in the Diocese of Los Angeles or at All Saints, but with our colleagues and other it was Clergy United for and Laity United for Economic Justice, and many of the other teams out there working is part of the work. So yeah, it is. I feel you, brother. I feel the and I'm not going to say it, but you've seen the photos of people, women who are older than I am, even with signs saying, "I can't believe I'm still having to protest this." Fill in the blank. At my age. Okay, let's hand it off to Vince.
Nice and warm. Just want to share a little bit of my own personal
A
experience.
little closer to your mouth.
I'd like to just share a little bit of my own personal experience in this situation. I mean, obviously, this is a very exhausting, draining time for us all. To wake up and try to get out of bed every morning and to see what the next whack-a-mole is. I'm finding that to be a part of these demonstrations has been just so, it's been wonderful for self-care. I mean, I just find myself coming away filled with joy. And I rarely do feel that level of joy, but I think it's the interconnectedness, being with other people, getting that support, feeling that I'm not alone, feeling that I'm not, helpless in this situation. So, I do it also for myself. And so I think that's one of the other good things that has come from this, and I hope we can continue.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Hi, I'm Amy Rose. I'm new, and this is so beautiful to hear everything that's being worked on. I had a quick question about one of the main issues. I'm Middle Eastern, so one of the main issues for me right now is what's happening with the genocide. And I know it's a scary thing to even say. I know it's a scary thing to go out into the streets about, because we're seeing people persecuted for that. And just wondering how to kind of navigate that resistance right now in a way that feels safe and in a way that feels connective and not like you have to hide or, that.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you. And you've named it. It is a huge challenge when we do interconnectivity, because we have multiple partners in the work, and you can be anti-genocide and not be anti-Semitic. You can be a Jew for Palestine, and you can also do a lot of damage to long-term interfaith relationships by polarizing and demonizing individuals whose heritage or tradition or trauma is different. And so we've done some great work with Aziza Hassan and the team there around conversations across difference and being able to mobilize. But absolutely, and you'll see within some of our sacred resistance teams, people across the board on how we're supposed to manage this, trying to challenge and do that together. So yes, and again, that's another issue, that the fact that we're as divided about it, I don't think is a coincidence. I think it's intentional. I think we have bought into it as a people. Those standing on the sidelines throwing kerosene on the embers, we need to have folks who could step in and say, no, stop. We can hold our passions and hold our understandings and still respect the dignity of every human being. And that means that these two things can both be true. What happened in the massacre of the Jewish folks in what was the date? I'm blowing it off. October 7th, thank you. Is heinous, and the genocide that is going on in Gaza is unconscionable. And we have to find a way to weigh in and do it. It's hard, complicated work. And it's complicated even more by the fact that we have, again, those powers and principalities working on the other side intentionally to divide us, and finding the ways to build those connections that are strong enough to resist that. And it is a huge challenge. As is the fact that we only have 40 minutes to do this important work together. And we are at our time because we need to let Keith go get ready to do worship. And so I'm going to conclude with one quick remark back to what Vince was saying about the energy he gets from being in community in a protest. For me, that's a kind of church. If we look at what it is to be church, it's to gather as the body of Christ, living out our commitment to the work of love, justice, and compassion in the world. For some people, coming here every Sunday morning to sit in a pew and listen to the familiar lessons and sing the familiar hymns and hug the familiar necks and receive the bread and wine made holy is what sustains them for the week ahead. For others, it's the community writ large. It's coming to be part of gatherings like this. It's coming to be part of Sacred Resistance. It's all part of the same work. And so whoever you are and wherever you find on the journey, wherever you plug in your incarnational version of the EV plug-in to charge you up to go back out into the next piece of the work, there's a place for you here, and there's both work for you to do and there's support for you to do it. And that's the privilege of doing this work all these years, and it's also the challenge of preparing ourselves to do it in the days and weeks and months ahead. Because let's not be naive. No matter who's in the White House, the issues that threaten to divide us are still going to exist. Probably as long as we're in this realm. We're not going to fix it I'm not going to fix it before I go to Jesus. I've had to give up that grandiosity imagination. But we are going to fix the bit we can. And to overquote my sort of patron saint and mentor, Sister Joan Chittister, we're each created to live on this planet, going through our lives, reclaiming the planet an inch at a time until the Garden of Eden grows green again. Whatever your inch is, identify it, try to reclaim it, and then ask for help when you need it. Because there are days when an inch is going to seem either so inconsequential that it doesn't matter reclaiming, or it's going to seem so monumental that you can't even take it on. And in those moments, reach out to those who are going to support you and encourage you, because we are all in this together. So let's conclude, if we could, with this prayer, turning to our prayer book for this prayer for social justice. God dwells in you. Grant, O God, that your holy and life-giving Spirit may so move every human heart that barriers that divide us may crumble, suspicions disappear, and hatred cease, that our divisions being healed, we may live in justice and peace through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. All right, thank you all. You've been great. If you anything of this sparked a desire for more information, Lorraine, will you be at the table after church?
Yeah, I'm going there right now, and
Okay.
I will be at the action table after church.
At the action table. I'm pretty hard not to find. Call me, text me, email me. I'm typically here on campus Mondays and Tuesdays, but I'm also pretty widely available during the week. So take care, God bless, have a great rest of the day, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.